show you the architecture. So Frontier Video, it is a software-based video system. That software, it lives on the video server as far as the VMS software and the recording software. And then there's also client software as well, and we'll get into all the details of that. But just as a kind of an overview of what Frontier Video is, it's going to live on the server, the software is. We have the ability to use analog cameras as well as digital cameras. So for any people who are transitioning away from analog cameras, the system really lends itself to be able to make that transition in a relatively painless way and to make full use of your existing analog cameras to get them over into the IP world. And we'll talk about how we make that happen. But basically, what we can do with Frontier Video is you could have Frontier Video as just a software package. So you could supply your servers, or we can supply the servers ourselves. But if you want, you can supply your own hardware. We can load the Frontier Video software on the servers, and there's no need for you to buy any special hardware necessarily from us to make that happen. We do offer hardware for the VMS and servers and the NVRs, so you can buy that through us. There's certain advantages to doing it that way, but it's really kind of what fits the end user or the customer best is the way you want to go about doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one and just talk about how we license it. It's actually it's a very simple way to license the system. More or less the way this works is you're buying camera licenses. When you buy a camera license, you own the camera license. There's no reoccurring fees with the licenses. So the way this basically works is all you're going to do is buy the camera license. The camera license price is going to change depending on what version of the software you want. So if you want a starter version of the software, which only goes up to 32 cameras and has some limited functionality, it would be more for a standalone type system. On Frontier server, the camera licenses are going to cost a certain amount per camera. If you want to step up to Frontier Professional, that same camera license will be a little bit more expensive, and then the same with Enterprise. So basically, you're buying by the camera, and depending on what version you have, that camera license is going to be a little bit more or less expensive. So it's really fairly simple the way you put this together. You figure out how many cameras you have, and you figure out what version of the software you would like to implement, and then you basically just pay for the camera license, and you'll get the functionality of the software with that. And it will actually include all the client and server licenses, basically that you need for the system. So on the camera and the camera licenses, they apply to either IP or analog cameras and can be switched easily to other cameras. So what that means basically is, say for instance you have a system where you have 32 cameras. 16 of those are analog cameras. You just have 32 licenses. You have 16 of those being used for analog. As you get away from or move away from the analog cameras, those licenses can be reallocated to a different camera without a need to actually call in to get any assistance. The end user can do that on their own. With a lot of camera systems, they'll typically tie the camera license to the MAC address of the actual camera itself. So when that camera dies or you have a need for a new camera you want to switch, it requires calling the vendor and going through a process to make that switch happen. We don't have to go through that with Frontier Video. We can easily switch licenses from one camera to another. Basically, when you buy, say, 32 camera licenses, you have 32 camera connections to that server, and that's all the server really cares about, is that 32 things are connected to it. So you can remove one of the other ones, add the new one, pretty flawlessly without having to actually have interaction with Frontier, the company itself. As I said before, once you buy the license, you own it. And there are upgrade plans. So when you buy, say for instance, you had a Frontier starter system and you wanted to upgrade the system to professional, there is an upgrade path for those camera licenses. And then there's also maintenance plans available on the camera licenses. So You can get into a service agreement type situation, and have maintenance on each camera license, and there's a separate fee for that. On the client end, there's a lot of choices on the client end as far as administering the system and the visibility of what's going on within the system. We have an alarm client, a video client, CV Spotlight, mapping functions, and a web client. And then we also have an app that you can run on a phone or a tablet. At the server level, all this VMS software is included in the licensing fee. So basically what this means to you, the bottom line is you buy the camera license, depending on the different version you want of Frontier Video. You buy the camera license, you'll pay a little bit more for the professional and enterprise version, but once you buy the camera license, you've bought everything. So you can load the client as many times as you want. You can run as many instances of the clients as you want. And then you have the server software, of course, that's going to run your VMS and your recording server. So I've got a couple fairly simple server options here that I wanted to talk about. It's extremely flexible the way we can set these systems up. So if on a very simple system with, say, 32 cameras, you may just have one server. That would be your video management server as well as your recording server. And in this scenario here, I'm showing a VMS, a recording server, and also camera encoding being done at the server level. So we do offer hardware where we can actually do the camera encoding at the server level. We can also take advantage of other encoders. So maybe you have some Access encoders out there, or some Bosch or something else. Whatever is out there as far as encoder, we just have to look at our list of devices that work with our system or are compliant with our system. And we do have a list of those on our website, and I'll actually have a link to that here in the next slide or two. But the bottom line is extreme flexibility as far as recording this. You need a place for the video management software to live. The recording software is included in the VMS, and then you may or may not have the option of using encoding right at the server level. You may just be pulling that out from the network if you already have encoders that are hooked up. To the right here is another example. We may have a recording server as a separate server, and we may use our VMS and encoding server separate from the recording server. Depends on the size of the implementation and the architecture and what you're actually trying to do there. But as small as 32 or under cameras, we can put everything on one server if we need. So I think that pretty much kind of covers the different ways that we can implement it at the server level. So I'm going to just go in and talk about each component of the system, and it's going to be fairly high level, but just to give everyone an idea of the different components and what they do within the software. So there is a client software that can be loaded on the workstation. The client software, you can create views, so you can have multiple views of cameras. You can also create investigation files by using another feature that I'll show you here in a minute. And you can share investigative files. So really, the client software, you can set this up to monitor all your cameras, and this is more of just kind of this is not alarm driven, this is more of just views of the system and going to actually go look at different cameras yourself for whatever reason you might want to look at them. There's a tree structure that we can create where we can create different zones or sites. So if there's multiple buildings, we can create a different sites to where we can have permissions, so when people log in, they can only see certain sites, or they can only control certain sites or different cameras. From this client, we could bring in multiple servers. So you may have the need to have, if you have multiple sites, you may have a server at each site, and then you can actually pull in views from each server and create a single view of multiple sites here. Once again, this is unlimited. So on the client side, you could load this client in as many workstations as you'd like, and it isn't licensed by instance of client. It's all included once you buy that camera license. We have what's called an alarm client. So this is going to be specific to alarm information coming into the VMS. So basically, we're going to provide information. This is right here is showing all the time and events that have come into the system. They're all color-coded by what type. So we have, motion events. We have alarm events. Sometimes we just have scheduled events as far as recording. So what's basically happening is all our events are going to come into the alarm client. They can be filtered at the alarm client, so we can only see specific ones if we'd like. We can go back and do history to look at different history of events that have happened on the VMS. We can click on those events and go back and look at the clips and start doing some forensic type investigations by looking at different events and alarms that have gone on within the system. Once again, with the alarm client, we can bring in multiple server camera information. So if we have multiple sites, this alarm client, could be monitoring multiple buildings, multiple sites, and cameras associated with those sites. Once again, at the alarm client level, this alarm client is once again, it's unlimited as far as there's no licensing associated with just loading this. You can have it on as many workstations as you'd like. We have another feature, which is a video pop-up alarm window. So the video pop-up alarm window right here, I've got a alarm window underneath here, and then this one right here is the video pop-up window. This part of the software can be loaded on any workstation. It doesn't have to have the video client. It doesn't have to have any other part of the VMS loaded on the workstation. You could, for instance, if there was somebody who just was concerned with wanting to see when certain alarms happened, we could set this up on their machine to where when only high-level alarms came in, video would pop up instantly, and it would show you that alarm actually happening. The great thing about this is these windows will come to the front of the machine. So I could be working in, say, Microsoft Word, writing a document or something to that effect, and this window will pop up in say, the left corner or the right corner. I can actually define the size of this window, where it pops up on my screen, but it will keep the focus to what I'm doing. So I could be writing a Word document, and I could have a window pop up, and I could continue to write that document while I'm watching that footage. So it's really a great feature in regards to the fact that it's really just kind of sitting in the background, and it's only going to show you video when you want to see video because an alarm has actually occurred that you want to bring attention to. And once again, this is unlimited as well. So you could have this loaded on 10, 15 different workstations within your organization. There may be people who aren't necessarily security people who are monitoring the system. It may just be different people within the organization who'd like to have visibility of certain things going on, and you could provide that with this function. We also have a feature to be able to create forensic videos. So if you look here in the middle of the screen, basically what happens is as an incident occurs, this will give us the ability, either as it occurs or even after it occurs, to come back, and what I can do is I can take my different cameras and I can drag them into this area here where it says drag, drop, and record, and I can create a forensic file that could be used for investigations. It can be shared with other operators on the system. So really the power of this is the ability just to say, take one camera, drag it over here, get a clip of a certain thing that happened, and then maybe whatever had happened in this field of view goes into the next field of view. So then you can drag that onto the to the record window here, and you could it'll basically stitch all these videos together for you and create one file that you can use to share for investigations. When it creates that new file, it'll also maintain the original recorded video. So won't affect your existing recorded video, but it will create a new file for you and stitch all that information together, to create an actual investigation. So it's really designed to make the whole investigative process easier and to give you what you need to provide investigators with information or video files. There is also a web client. So the web client is of course part of the package as well. The web client is a very simple user interface. So it is designed with basically no training needed. If there is any training or guidance needed, it's very little. As you look over here, you can see, I've got, pretty straightforward, typical kind of setup. You've got your tree structure that you define with your cameras. You can create your views up to a 4x4 view or a single view. I can review live video. I can do PTZ control. I can view video or recorded video by alarm events or motion events. I can bring those back up and I can look. You can see right here, this is a list of different events. So this is more of a recorded video forensic window. I can filter by these events. I can search through this video as well, and I can export clips. And then one other feature that we are using for the web client is that we're using a dynamic resolution scaling. So basically what that means is, if there's a video feed coming into the web client, and say the view is, it's a 4x4, it's a certain size here, we're not going to send the entire signal needed to fill up this entire window and just scale it down, which a lot of VMS systems do that. We're going to send the appropriate video for the appropriate size that we're looking on the screen. And that's going to save us a lot of bandwidth. So when we have like a 4x4, for instance, on this screen, a 4x4 view, a single camera is very small. We're only going to send enough information to, present this view in the size that it needs, as opposed to sending the entire view over, as being able to maybe look at it as an 8x10 or something like that. We're only going to send the size needed. So that saves us a lot of bandwidth by doing it that way. So we also have a mobile application. So on the mobile application, this is it is an app that's it's down. You can download it from the App Store from either iOS or Android. So it is compatible with both of those platforms. So basically, with the mobile app, you're going to be able to set up views, pretty much unlimited views for camera feeds. You're going to actually be able to control PTZ cameras through the app. You are able to view event-driven recorded video, so alarms, motion detections, things like that. We can actually control the camera lighting from the app. So if there is lighting on the camera, and say, for instance, you remote in, you're looking at it live, you want to turn the lighting on, you can do that at the camera level, as well as we can enable and disable audio at the camera level, at the camera level through the application. If you do find something that you want to share, you can take a snapshot and email it directly from the application very quickly. And then as far as cameras, we do support analog and IP cameras using the same licenses as I had talked about before. So you can start, by licensing an analog camera, and then when you're done with it, you can replace it with an IP camera without any pain, without having to call anybody. You can do that very quickly. There is a very extensive list of supported cameras available. That list is, I have a link to it right here. But basically, if you go to frontier-security.com and then you go and search and look for video, you're going to find this link to our supported camera list. On the cameras, we do take advantage of features like alarm inputs and audio functions and motion detection. So the cameras that we do qualify, we do our best to take advantage of all the features that those cameras do offer. I talked earlier about the maintenance agreement that is available on the for camera basis, as well as there is an upgrade path for the camera license. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about briefly is just going to be the the integration from the Frontier Video VMS system to the Frontier Access Control System. So we released Frontier version R4 at the beginning of this month, and with that release, we had the first phase of our integration to the Frontier video system. This is just a little snapshot of what the video window looks like from the Frontier Access Control System. So, really the idea is to really, most people use the Frontier Access Control System as their main interface to monitor their facilities. So what we want to do is we want to bring enough functionality into the access control system that they can effectively monitor their facility without really having to go into the VMS system all the time. So the way we were able to do that is just to give it, all the most pertinent functionality with the integration. So the first phase of the integration included associating video to access control alarms. So say, for instance, an ajar alarm, door forced alarm, a duress alarm, arms, disarms at the rear level. So, basically what happens now is when I get an ajar alarm in my queue on the Frontier Access side, I can right-click and say View Recorded Video, and it'll show me when it actually happened. From recorded video, I can open up this live video window, so I can actually be seeing the alarm as it occurred, the recorded version, as well as what's going on at the door at the present time. I can do things like export this video from here, I can fast forward, rewind, I can take snapshots, and then I can do things like control PTZ, zoom in and out from the live camera, assuming it has those type of functions. The way we've designed this now, it's the first phase. So like I said, we've associated certain alarms to the video, as well as we can bring up live cameras. We can control the live cameras, the PTZ, the zoom, and then we can also do history. So we can go back and we can look at different video clips. We can actually do history on specific alarms and get the list of the history of that alarm, and then we can actually go through all those different events, alarm instances, and we can bring up associated video with each one very quickly. And right now at this point, as far as alarms from the VMS system, we can receive motion detection alarms from cameras from the VMS system in the ACS, as well as basically online, offline type alarms to show the visibility of the state of the cameras. We also have the ability to create icons on floor plan maps and be able to bring up the video from a floor plan map as well. So I'm going to go ahead and it looks like I might have a couple questions here I'm going to click on. If anybody has any questions right now, go ahead and push them into the queue here, and I would be happy to answer them. So I have a question right now. Is the pop-up only on video alarms, or can it pop up on the access events? Currently, it's only on the video-driven alarms. So we do not have the pop-up ability yet on anything from the access control side as far as access control-driven alarms. But that is definitely something that I will take down, and we will consider that when we're designing the next phase of the Frontier Video. So, as far as one other thing I think I'll just mention is that what I had explained to you before is the first phase of the integration. So we are working on another phase of integration now, and one of the things that we will be doing with this next phase is the ability to associate video to cardholder transactions or credential type transactions. So basically in our access control system now, a lot of people who already have it, who are familiar with it, we have a watch window that looks for transactions. We'll be able to associate video to those transactions now, which is really going to be powerful. So I have one more. When will the new Frontier Video be available? So basically, the Frontier Video is available now. So if anybody is interested, in seeing the Frontier Video or getting a more in-depth look, I just ask you to talk to your sales rep or contact somebody at Frontier, and we can definitely get you more information as far as trying to get a system set up, etc. But yes, Frontier Video is a very new product for us, and we do have it available now. So if anybody else has questions, go ahead and shoot them into my queue here. I don't have any other questions yet, so I'll give it a minute here. Okay, well, it doesn't look like I have any more questions. Like I said, today was really meant to be kind of a high-level overview of Frontier Video and talk about the licensing and a little bit about the product. So if anybody is interested in more information, please contact your local Frontier representative, and we would be happy to get you more information on it. Thanks, everyone, and have a good afternoon.